Hello everyone and welcome back to another video with that embroidery girl, and today I'm going to be doing Huey from the Boondocks. If you're a huge Boondocks fan, stay tuned. So first things first, I've actually drawn Huey's face on a piece of tracing paper, and I'm just going to use my water soluble pen to draw around this face shape. And then I'm going to start pinning around the area. So I've got the pins here, and I'm actually coming just probably around about 2mm outside of the face shape with the first two pins. And then I'm going straight through the middle with this one pin. Notice that I'm tucking the end, the pointy end, down through the fabric, just so that I don't, catch it on the ends of the thread that I'm using. And I'm going to put all of these pins in like so, and then I'm actually going to use two pins either side of the face shape just to get that really nice sharp indent that Huey has. So for this embroidery, I'm going to be using a mid-brown tone colour. I'm going to be using a full strand, and I have a chenille needle. This is around a number 18, I believe, so quite a thick needle. I'm going to start by coming up where the chin would be with my full floss and taking this thread underneath all of the pins. Once we've gone underneath all of the pin heads, I'm going to use my black marker just to firmly dot out the face. It's really easy because I've used water soluble for it to disappear, so I definitely want to know where my face parameters are. Take the thread and the needle down back through the fabric, and now adjust the sides of the face pins like so, because we've already got that nice sharp indent. And now I'm going to begin my base weaves. So all I'm going to do is a buttonhole stitch here at the top, and I'm going to do that for every anchoring line that I create. So every long line for the weave, I'm going to use a buttonhole stitch. So it's a buttonhole stitch at the top here, and again I'm going to come underneath these pins, and I'm going to come underneath every pin but the final pin, and then another buttonhole stitch just here, just to make sure that it's doubly secure. And once I've done that, come back through the base of the chin. Now I'm going to need to alter these lines, so I'm actually going to drag these underneath the pin so that I have that really nice jawline that I've created at the bottom. So just tuck it in underneath the pin. And once you've done that, you're ready to repeat the process again for the top three pins. So again, coming up with a buttonhole stitch underneath these three, another buttonhole stitch just to secure it at the top here, and then back through the chin area. And then I'm going to put my final weave line in, which will be at the very top here. I'm actually going to put a buttonhole stitch here just for extra security, and tuck these areas underneath again just to enhance that jawline. And I am now pretty much ready to begin my weave. So I'm going to start the weave between the first three pins. So the sequence is up and under, so it just means that when you go over one thread, you go under another. And I'm going to fill this area in first between these first three pins. When you begin a weave through to a next pin, just make sure that that first one's really tight. You can see me here pulling that really tight up against the weave before it. Just make sure this is extra tight. You can even secure this with a buttonhole stitch if you feel the need to, just to make sure that it's super tight and you're not going to have any gaps. Continue this process until you've completely filled up most of the face. It's very common to run out of thread, so if you do a reef knot with the same thread. So you go under with one side and then under with the other, and pull that knot tight. That knot shouldn't come loose, just make sure it's really tight and then cut off the ends, and you can continue on with your weave. As you come towards the jawline, just make sure these pins are really tight and go as far as you can without moving them. That way you can make sure that you get this really nice angled shape. Use a buttonhole stitch if you need to in areas. This is quite a small shape, so you shouldn't need to, but if you do, don't worry about it. And when you're ready, remove those pins. I think this is the most satisfying bit of the whole process. So I've gone ahead and got my 3mm thick felt, and I've just laid the woven picot over the top, and I'm drawing around that shape. Cut that shape out to make sure that it fits underneath this woven picot, and then just go ahead and stitch that down really well. Once your felt's stitched down, just make sure the woven picot fits, and then you can tack this shape down as well. Make sure that you've got lots and lots of stitches in there, and this is really neatly finished and completely covering all the felt. So the next stage is to embroider the face. So what I've done is I've taken back that tracing. I've actually cut out the eyes just to make sure I have an accurate placement for his eyes. And I've just gone ahead and got some cotton, a double thread of cotton on a beading needle, and I'm just going to outline the eye shape with some black thread just to make sure that it can stand out against the brown tones, and also that I'm not stitching it on in the wrong place, because you only get one shot at this. Once I've done that, I'm going to remove the tracing just to make sure that that's fairly accurate. Just loosen any of the threads and put in a couple more stitches if some of the stitches are not as visible as I'd like them to be. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the nose using the tracing as well. So I've cut out the little nose point on the tracing, and I'm just going to stitch that down. I'm fairly happy with that, so I'm going to continue on doing the rest of the facial expressions using the tracing, starting with the mouth and then going on to the eyebrows and the frown lines. Once I've got to the frown lines, I'm actually going to use my black pen to draw these in firstly, just to make sure that I get them 100% accurate. And I'm then going to just colour in a little bit the nose and some of the eyebrows, just so that when I go back in to embroider, any gaps won't really be as visible as they might have been had they just been on the brown tone. So I've gone ahead and traced over the eyes. There's not really a perfect way to do this really, it's just observation from looking at a Huey picture. And once I've done that in the black pen, I outlined them in some black thread, and now I'm just colouring in the eyebrows like you can see here. So next I'm going to take some white and just highlight the inside of the eyes and the eye dots, finish off the eyebrows, and then take this black thread and just outline some of the pupils inside the eyes, leaving a little bit of brown for the iris, and take that black thread back down to create the dimple in the chin. Next I'm going to take my black pen and draw on some ear shapes like so, and then I'm going to outline a huge afro for him. So to create the ears, I'm going to be using a bullion knot. So I've got the same brown that I used for the face, and I'm just going to come up with my needle and then go back down. Don't pull the needle too far down, just come up again next to the first point of entry, which is here. Pull that thread nice and tight, and then begin to wrap in a clockwise direction your thread around this needle. Try not to make the wraps too tight because it will be very difficult to remove the needle. But make sure that you have more than enough wraps so that you're going to get a nice long bullion stitch that will be roughly around about the size of your ear shape. And once I've got the length that I'm happy with, I'm just going to pull those wraps down the needle like so. This might take a little bit of time, but it's worth taking your time to get it right. And I'm just going to pull that nice and tight. And you'll see I'm going to put my finishing stitch at the base near the head. So I actually started this stitch at the top of the ear and then finished it at the base near the head. And that's just because then we've got 2 anchoring points for that bullion stitch. And I'm then going to secure this bullion stitch with just a couching stitch over the top of the bullion in the area where the ear would usually come in, so here. And then I'm going to put a couple more stitches just to hold down the top of the ear. And we're done. So the next step is to repeat that on the opposite side and then begin work on the afro. So I've actually got a really dark grey, a black thread and a really dark brown. So I'm going to begin the afro with huge French knots, and it's going to start from one side of the ear. So the first ear that we've done will be the first French knot. Now I'm going to use 3 different types of very dark colour so that we've got some highlights in the afro. Here you can see me beginning all the way around the head with a very dark black. I then begin around the neck area and the chin with a very dark brown, just to make it slightly more lighter. And then I'll go in with this very dark grey for around the top of the afro where the light would have been hitting. That whole area that we drew out for the afro needs to be filled in. Make sure that you're changing your colours frequently, and I'm actually coming in and now highlighting the top of the head with some dark brown. Once you've done all of that, I'm just going to place a straight stitch either side of his neck jawline area just to indent Huey, and then that is the embroidery finished. This has been a great one to do. I've really enjoyed doing a lot of my fan art. If you've enjoyed this video too, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time.